right, welcome again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes to come into the room, and then we'll get started. Good evening to everyone. I have missed you guys. I have missed being here. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here. Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me well. Again, we're about a minute and a half into the broadcast, and we're going to get started in maybe about another minute and a half or so just to give people time to come into the room because I'd hate for people to miss this information. And for those of you that are already in the room, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I do appreciate you, and I greatly am humbled by your continued support of this platform. Thank you so much. We will get started in about another 30 seconds. My allergies are still bothering me. It's a bad time to be in the South right now. It's really bad. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the material. First and foremost, before I get started, I want to say thank you for your continued support of this platform, your continued appreciation for the material that we're bringing to you every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. I do apologize for not being able to be live on last week, but I am back, and you can expect for the given nothing arises that interrupts the broadcast. We will be here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to bring you good quality content and information. It is because I understand that your time is precious and your time is finite that I would never dare waste any of it. I accept it as a gift, and I'm grateful that you spend time with me every Tuesday so that we can bring this information to you, because we feel that the information we're providing is something that would benefit you as a person, your character, your moral development. And we appreciate you being so concerned and invested in developing your character, developing your personality, developing and refining your moral basis and senses. We really do, really appreciate that. And we're working on ourselves as well. So we're all in this together. I am not the teacher and you're not the student. We are all trying to get through this together. Having said that, it is for that reason that tonight's episode is titled Sanity During Uncertainty, or rather, another way of putting it, maintaining your sanity during times of uncertainty. The reason that I wanted to discuss this topic is because we live in very precarious times. I have in my life never witnessed as much uncertainty as I have especially since COVID. But we experienced a little bit of it after 9/11. And before then, of course, you had economic uncertainties, you had uncertainties regarding the climate, you had a lot of different variables in your life that you were concerned about that you may have kind of overlooked because, in comparison to what we've been dealing with over the past, I would dare say, over the past 24 years, no, 23 years, we've seen so much uncertainty, economic, spiritual, mental health, medical, you name it. We've seen so much uncertainty across the globe, across our country, even amongst ourselves. You've noticed people have become very unpredictable, erratic, and almost illogical on some levels. Now, we all have our theories of why this may be occurring, but regardless of what the reason is why we are going through this, it is undeniable. We are living in very uncertain times. Look no further than the war in the Ukraine, war in um, uh, the Middle East or Africa, in Jerusalem, Palestine, whichever way you decide to identify that area. Um, we have we see that the climate is betraying us. The weather patterns are erratic. The ground beneath our feet, there are earthquakes everywhere. There is nothing really certain about these times that we reside in. If you are unable to manage those truths, those facts, it can be quite a challenge to maintain a proper way of thinking and behaving. And I'm going to do the best that I can this evening to point out a couple of things that I've learned along the way. These are going to be a couple of tips that I felt that they were useful in my life, and hopefully they'll be useful in yours as well in managing uncertainty. So let's begin with a couple of basic fundamentals, facts of life. The only thing that life offers you as a certainty, the only thing that life offers you as a certainty is uncertainty. That's it. Uncertainty. Life is filled with uncertainty, and it is impossible because of that uncertainty to really predict the future. You can give forecasts, you can give possible predictions, if you will, but nothing is for certain. And the reason why we struggle with uncertainty is because we have this insatiable need to control. And because we have a need to control, we find ourselves in a predicament where whenever things get out of control, we don't know how to react or respond. And we're about to discuss just that, the response. Let me give you an example. You may know at some point in your life, probably when you were younger, you had an idea that I was going to go to college, then I would graduate and get married. And then after getting married, I would have children. After having children, then we would raise them and give them a good education and position them to make their own and best decisions for themselves in their lives. That's our dream. That's our hope. That's our ambition. But you know what it really is? Still uncertainty. Because there are a lot of people that had dreams for their children, for themselves, for their wives, for their husbands, that didn't come to fruition because life threw a curveball at them. And if you don't know how to manage that, that can be very problematic and lead to some undesired consequences. Now, before I say anything else, let's make sure we have one thing for certain. Let's make sure that, uh, and before I go any further, is anybody having any trouble reaching me or understanding or receiving this broadcast? If you are, before I go any further, please let me know. Um, I'm going to check right now to make sure we're getting reports that some of us are having issues watching the broadcast. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to fix this problem that we were having. Okay, there we go. All right. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. Okay, now let's make sure that everything is working now. So if you're watching the broadcast and having trouble, send me a message on the screen and let me know if it's working now or not, okay? Thank you so much. Okay. So we may be, looks like we may have solved that problem. I do apologize. Um, where was I? I'm so sorry. You have different ambitions for your family members, friends, or what have you. And you're trying to bring those dreams to fruition, but unfortunately, something interrupts that process. And it is because of that interruption and our need of control, we don't know how to really respond directly to those changes, that uncertainty. Now, before I get started and delve into the material, I want to say one thing and make sure we have this understanding. Uncertainty is always a challenge. Always. Thank you so much for that. Uncertainty is always a challenge. But if you reframe uncertainty, I am confident that whatever goal it is you desire, whatever achievement you're embarking upon will be worth it. But I can't, in good faith, promise you'll get the results that you're anticipating. More than likely, statistics say that you're more likely to fail in your endeavor to reach higher achievements. But that has nothing to do with your ability, desire, and will to set forth an attempt to accomplish those goals. And that is what I want to remove from you today: the fear. the fear of failure because of uncertainty. Let's go. Reframe uncertainty as opportunity. Because since you cannot control whatever is going on, you can only control yourself at best. You can't control others. You cannot control events. You can only control yourself. Because you can only control yourself and your behavior, then and only then are you positioned to deal with uncertainty. What's the first one? What's the first rule? The first thing is you have to understand you're most welcome. Thank you so much, Logos Pathositos, and we appreciate you helping us this evening. And thank you for all that have also joined the room as well recently. It looks like our numbers are jumping up. We're just discussing uncertainty. Because you can only control yourself, you have to let go. Anytime you try to control other people, other events, you're going to do nothing but make a mess of it because you have no power over those entities. You only have power over yourself. It is very important to realize that for all of you control freaks. It is very important, critical to understand you can only control yourself. When you accept that you cannot control everything in your life, then what you can do is start practicing healthy behaviors that are within your control. Because if you don't, whenever the uncertain event happens, it will discourage you and possibly knock you off course and not motivate you to move forward. How many times have you heard people say, I have a really good idea for this business that I want to start. I have this really good idea that I believe I may be able to cure cancer if I go to school, go to grad school, go to med school, learn more about it. I have a sincere interest in it, but I'm too old. I don't have the money. Those kinds of things. And that can discourage you from the mundane to accomplishment. Now, you may ask yourself, Ron, why are we talking about this? I'm glad you asked. Because as I stated earlier, not only is there a lot of uncertainty in the world, but let's just look at our own lives. On this podcast, I know some of you are used to me delving into the esoteric, the philosophical, the pontificating on these theories that sound good using big words that hardly no one understands nor can identify with. But tonight, we're going to talk about the fundamentals. When you realize you cannot control anything but yourself, and God willing, your body is healthy, your mind is in good working condition, only then are you positioned to adapt and adjust yourself to when the uncertain situation arises. But if you continually try to control and force things to happen, I didn't say persevere, force things to happen against its nature, against its own will, against its own autonomy, you're going to just make a mess of everything. And you're going to find yourself isolating yourself more from others rather than working alongside and with others. Once you really come to terms with you realize that I really have no control over any of this, I can only control what I can control within myself, That's embracing uncertainty. That is recognizing your limits as well as your gifts and knowing there's a limit. I can only go so far in terms of the outcome. But I can work really hard to ensure I get the outcome, the probability of the outcome, depending on how hard I prepare and work and sacrifice as I am attempting to obtain whatever or accomplish this worthy goal. I really hope that makes sense because one of the things that you may say, well, what is the benefit of recognizing what you can control and what you can't control? What benefit is there? Well, here's the benefit. Number one, whenever something happens to you, whenever you're caught off guard, whether it's medically, spiritually, emotionally, in your relationship, you lose someone, you lose something, whatever the case may be. When you realize that you cannot control everything, but you can control yourself, one of the first things you have to do is remain disciplined. You have to remain disciplined. The reason discipline is so important is because, and this is a true story. Uh, okay, I'll just say it. I have nothing to fear. I recently was laid off. This is a true story. And the first thing that happened was I went into denial. Okay. 24 hours after denial, I went into shock. You would normally think I would go into shock first and then go into denial. But no, I went into denial first. And then once reality hit, I was like, oh, this is real. When I woke up the next day and didn't have an employer's office to go punch in and ask for a paycheck or work for a paycheck, when that reality collapsed, I went, uh-oh, this is real. And I went into shock. And everything that I was doing for about a good, maybe week was fear-based because I was trying to find another job, applying to these people, applying to that people, trying to call some of my ex-coworkers, figuring out how are you handling this? What are you doing? Calling my parents, calling my friends. How did you handle being laid off? Because this never happened to me before. And I listened to everyone's opinions, their experiences, and then I began to become calm. And after I began to calm myself, I began to engage in behaviors and activities as if I was still working. I remained disciplined in my approach. Just because you're not working right now doesn't mean you get to sleep in until 12 o'clock. Because when you sleep in till 12 o'clock, guess what? You're up all night and then you go to sleep finally at 1 o'clock the next morning. And then you wake up again at 12 o'clock the next day or 10 o'clock the next morning or 2 o'clock the next afternoon. Until finally that undisciplined lifestyle becomes a lifestyle. And that's the problem. One of the things that helped me is I remained disciplined. Wake up every morning at 4:30, 5:30, every morning, as if you're about to walk out the door and go to work. The only difference is you're going to stay indoors and go to work attempting to find employment by any means necessary. When I remained disciplined, because time is still ticking, with or without you, and you're either going to use that time positively or you're going to be negligent and misuse it. I decided to use it wisely. I had to sit back and ask myself, what opportunities do I have now? Instead of being, well, woe is me. Waking up every morning still as if I had a job, sitting at my office, sitting at my desk in my office at my computer working, as if I was at the employer's office, served me because it allowed me to remain disciplined. When I remained disciplined, what that told me was when the time comes for you to gain employment again, you won't have to get ready, you'll be ready. Stay disciplined. That's number one. The second and final tip I would like to give you is be kind to your body. And one of the best things you can do for yourself, to yourself, since this is the only thing you can control, this and all of this is it. You have to eat healthy. You have to eat clean. You have to get rid of sugars, sodas, those chips, starches, carbs, things that will not serve you well. You want to eat healthy. And you also want to try to exercise if you can, if you're able to. And the reason that is important is because you will always remain clear minded because your body is clean, your mind is clean, and you're disciplined. And because you're disciplined and you're treating yourself with respect because you're feeding the proper foods that your body needs to function, you will be better able to adapt to the situations that are uncertain that life is going to throw at you. That's just my 2 cents. Stay disciplined, eat clean. The reason those two things are so important is because once you do the hard work of remaining disciplined and eating well, and I'm not saying steak and asparagus and whatever it is you feel would be a fancy dinner. I simply mean eat sensibly, healthy, and in proportion to what your body needs. Once you start utilizing rather, those approaches towards healthy living, healthy behaving towards yourself, then you're going to start behaving healthy towards others. Then you're going to start taking chances, be more alert, assume more risk, simply because now you no longer see failure as the problem or an end. Failure is a part of life. It is as natural a part of life on this planet as water is to earth, as air is to earth, this atmosphere. It will be just that natural. It is just that natural, rather. And there is nothing you can do to avoid failure. If you've never failed at anything in your life, you haven't set your goals high enough. If you have never failed at anything in your life, you've never tried anything worthwhile in your life. If you never made a fool of yourself in front of others after attempting to obtain a worthy ideal or goal, you've never had a worthy ideal or goal. Because the very first thing after living a disciplined, clean life is you're going to put yourself out there because you have to go get it. It's not going to come to you. And if you're going to go get it, there are going to be doors closed in your face. And in order for you to be able to deal with rejection, to deal with the no's, to deal with the you cannot pass any further, then what you're going to do is, since you are thinking better, feeling better, living a disciplined lifestyle, now you're looking at failures like this. I remember a day when failure would paralyze me. And I remember there were some people that had ideas of having their own restaurant, having their own business of some sort, obtaining a level of education they wanted to seek, finding and being patient to that ideal woman, ideal man in marriage. what you will start doing is you'll start analyzing, saying, oh, it's not that I'm attempting to obtain a worthy goal, but now I see where can make corrections in my approach. And you're thinking clearly. And so now, once you start trying new and different avenues to reach the goal you're attempting to obtain, and you see the results occurring as a result of your perseverance and your disciplined lifestyle, then you will have a sense of accomplishment. And you haven't even reached the goal yet. Celebrate the little victories, they're very important because every little victory you overcome along the way to obtain that goal will give you the hope that you need to sustain yourself in maintaining the course. Before I go any further, am I making sense? If you're in the room right now and you're listening and this is halfway interesting to you, uh, am I making sense? Is there anything confusing about what I'm saying? The reason I am saying that it's so important to follow your goal and to follow it in this order is because once you have the awareness that I'm learning in this process of what works, what doesn't, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. I should have made a left when I did make a right. So the next time I'm at that intersection in my life, I'll go left instead of right. You're learning from your previous experiences. The reason that's so important is because then you deal. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad, Tia Harry. I'm so glad it's making sense. Budget bills, I'm so glad it's making sense. Thank you. Because this is not your typical feel good, deep thinking types of conversations where customers are having. I want to give you something that you can hold on to, that you can use in real time because you're running out of it, number one. And that means that every decision, as time ticks more and more, your decisions become more and more important, and the consequences thereof are actually greater because you have less time. It is really difficult to maintain the course even while you're motivated. It is difficult to maintain the course, waking up every morning as if you have a job and working to find a job or provide a service if you would like to be an entrepreneur of some sort. That's difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. And interesting enough, it is the fact that you understand that you cannot control everything and that some of the results or the consequences thereof, after you've done all of the calculations, made all of the strategic moves, you've paid your tithes and offerings, you've fed the homeless, you've hugged and kissed babies and took pictures with them, and you still may not get the results you're looking for. That's stressful. But you know what helps mitigate that stress? The fact that you know I can't control the outcome. I can only attempt to influence or arrive at the outcome that I'm seeking, but I can't control it. And unfortunately, don't take it personal. It's not you. It's not your governor. It's not your president. It's none of that. Thank you so much, Gospel Sunday. Thank you, Queen Mother. Once you understand that this universe is not in your control, it's not even in control of itself. It's just doing whatever it's doing. Once you understand that, you now will be a part of the flow of things. You'll be in harmony with things. You won't be against things. You're going to have opposition, but you will not be in opposition to the process. That is the process. It is very important, and I cannot state this enough, and I see we've gone 35 minutes, and I'm going to wrap this up. It is important that you understand everything that we stated before, because you have to remember that the quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. I'm going to say that again. The quest for certainty blocks the blocks the search for meaning. Meaning is very important. Meaning is why you wake up in the morning to go work the job that you work, to make sure that your children can eat at night. You don't like what you do, you don't like the people you work around, but you have meaning. Meaning is what is going to sustain you when you have to work 10 and 12 and 14 hours on your own podcast, on your own subject matter, on your own marketing strategies, trying to grow your product. Because then you're tied to something that is greater than whatever it is you thought you were going to get out of it. Because meaning is what is going to sustain you to press forward when everything and everyone is trying to knock you backwards or down. Because the meaning is bigger than all of us, and it serves us all. Let me give you an example of that. I am fascinated with Jeff Bezos. Absolutely 100%. I don't know what I don't know what he is. I don't know what his personality is like. I don't know what he's like in his home private. He could be a wife abuser for all I know. But in the public and what he's done to accomplish what he's accomplished, that's what I admire. This man worked at a Fortune 500 a financial institution in New York City around 1992, 93, 94. This man graduated from Princeton University. He's no dummy at all. He had an idea. And I am not oversimplifying anything that I'm stating. He had an idea. There's this thing called the internet, America Online, with the 56K modem. If you were born after 98, 99, what I just said to you makes no sense at all whatsoever. That was ancient history, what I just did. But if you were born before then, you know exactly what I'm saying. He went to one of his colleagues at this lucrative financial institution. As a matter of fact, not only was this his colleague, this was his mentor. He said, "Man, I have an idea where I can sell books online." And he laid out the entire idea to his mentor and colleague at this institution. And the response of his mentor and colleague was, "You know, Jeff, that's a really good idea, but that's for someone else, not you. Don't jeopardize the future that you have with this firm, this financial institution. You're making good money right now in New York City. Go ahead and, just stick to what you're doing, what we're good at." That's what he told him. The next thing Jeff does, he gets in his car, he packs his belongings. He gets along with his wife, and they travel to Seattle, Washington, on the other side of the country. He gets a loan for about, I believe, $250,000 from from his father, so that he could have the capital to start up this business that he has an idea for selling books online. Moves into a modest home, I believe outside of Tacoma, Washington, maybe Seattle, but outside of Tacoma, one of the two. And Jeff and his wife, whenever they would get orders on their website, Jeff Bezos and his wife would travel to the post office 5 and 6 times a day, packaging books, mailing them out, trying to make that customer happy based on this new business idea that he has. Until finally one day he was able to hire employees. And then once he hired employees, and he and his wife then were able to get a business office. And then they were able to grow the business a little bit larger to the point where they were able to get shareholders and have a board of directors. And here's the part that I love most. Every quarter, fiscal quarter, Amazon lost money for 5 years straight. Let me put that in perspective to you. Fiscal quarter number 1, we're in the red. We're paying our employees, but we're not making any money. And the shareholders are upset because they invested a lot of money into this business and they want a return. Fiscal quarter number 2, no return. Fiscal quarter 3, no return. Second year, fiscal quarter 1, no return. Number 2, no return. 3, no return. Year number 3, fiscal quarter number 1, no return. Fiscal quarter number 2, no return. Fiscal quarter 3, no return. Number 4, fiscal quarter number 1, no return. Fiscal quarter 2, no return. Fiscal quarter 3, no return. And what does he do? You would think that the average person would give up and quit. You would think that the average person would say, you know what, this isn't working out. My shareholders are upset with me. The board is thinking about trying to vote me out of my position. My customers are happy, but I'm unable to push this business a little bit further, but I know it works. I know my formula is correct. I know my business plan is sound, but it's not working. 5 years straight, they lost money. Now wait a minute. Now let's not understate that. The board had every right to vote him out of the business he started. They could have. Imagine going to the board fiscal quarter after fiscal quarter after fiscal quarter, year after year after year. I know you've put your faith in me. I know you invested your money into me, but I promise you it's going to pay off. We just got to continue to stay the course. If you lost $1,000, you wouldn't invest another $1,000 into whatever it was, more than likely. 5 years of losses until something happened. And now here Jeff Bezos is, the richest man in the entire world. His entire company is doing so well. I just saw this out this morning where Amazon is entering the medical field. He started off selling books online. Then he started selling other items, TVs, excuse me, books, TVs, toys, you name it, shower curtains, whatever you can think of. And then the business started doing so good, the man started another business, a part of Amazon, Blue Origin, where now they're going into outer space. They're building hotels in outer space. Amazon is building hotels in outer space. If that isn't enough, now the man is going into the medical field. What if he had listened to that trusted mentor of his, making 250 grand a year, now being worth $250 billion? What if he had listened to that ear, to that voice? But he had to listen and follow that inner voice. And the only way he could be as successful as he is now is he remained disciplined. Yes, and he remained sane during 5 years of uncertainty. He had to wake up and convince himself, even when everyone around him says, man, this is a bad idea to give up. He stayed the course. Does that make sense? Too many of you give up too easily because you're not disciplined, because you're not living healthy, you're not treating yourself properly, you're not reinforcing the greatest computer that mankind has ever known. You're not reinforcing the beauty of it and utilizing it fully. You're too easily dissuaded. You're too easily convinced that you should go a different way. And once you do that, you've lost your course. You've lost everything that you've worked so hard and sacrificed for. I hope I'm making sense. There are some people saying that they believe that I'm rambling right now, which lets me know this message isn't for you. If this message is making sense to you, thank you, because I'm giving you the tools, the skills that you need in order to survive uncertain times. I'm going to conclude tonight with this quote. Uncertainty is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be debilitating. Too many of us become debilitated. We become frozen whenever something uncertain happens to us. We don't know how to respond. And so instead of us moving forward with the mission, moving forward towards the dream, yes, you are in pain, but keep moving forward. Yes, no one is standing beside you. Keep moving forward. You have to do that. And in order to maintain that sanity while you're undergoing uncertainty is very closely related to how disciplined and well you've treated yourself. Otherwise, you're going to give up and be a part of the numbers, the masses. And at that point, you don't deserve the benefit of the goal that you sought. I hope tonight's episode was beneficial to some of you. And I appreciate the time that you've given me, and I will not take up any more time. And I will say, think of it this way. Pain is inevitable, but suffering, that's an option. That's an option. Choose. Make a decision. Have a good night.